So, hey, Metalheads! Metal is a Law radio show and YouTube channel has the honor to interview Gravehuffer's guitarist and founder Randall. Welcome, Ritchie. Thanks a lot for the interview. And my first question is: you define yourselves as an otherworldly amalgamation of crust punk, metal, grindcore, and down-tuned sludge-laden doom. So
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it seems that you are able to be included in many kinds of festivals, I
Yeah.
suppose. So how used it to be your live performances in the past and at the time that we used it to have concerts, yeah, before
Right.
all this pandemic?
Mhm.
And how was the feedback of the audience?
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing up the different genres and things. A lot of that just comes from our background as musicians, and we're all in our like mid 40s to lower 50s. We're older, and a lot of us listen to a lot of different music growing up. So a lot of the bands that we still look up to have a lot of varied approaches to their music. So that
Mhm.
I feel like we've tried to retain that in what we do. Although a lot of our stuff has an intent and a sincerity about it, but it's also got an extreme aspect to it, if you will. I think a lot of that stems from we look at the not necessarily look at it, but we tend to feel like our music is therapeutic, and a lot of the times when we play we're got a lot of things built up inside that just kind of releases, and so that kind of contributes to a lot
Mhm.
of our energetic, I guess, approach. But at the same time, we do like to go down different avenues and different genres, and like you were mentioning, the grind and the crust and the punk, the metal, the doom, and all that. It just whatever mood we're feeling when we write music is what comes out in the music. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do as far as genres. And as far as shows, yeah, we do play with a lot of different bands and different
Yeah.
styles. And I mean, we've played like one show we played last year was an actual doom festival. And I mean, we're not a doom band by any means, but we've got enough of that material to where we can kind of tailor our set to fit in a doom festival setting or whatever. So we still
Mhm.
played some of our faster stuff just because that's who we are. But we were also able to showcase more of the slower, sludgier stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And then we'll
Mhm.
play with hardcore bands. We'll play with punk bands, traditional metal bands. I mean, it's a lot
Yeah.
of fun, being able to, like you say, fit in with several different shows and festivals and you name it. If there's a stage and people will have us there, we'll play.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, yeah. It's pretty interesting and rich. You can
Hmm.
really fit many
Right.
kinds of different festivals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And how is the metal scene in your area?
It's Joplin's a pretty small town. It's only about 50,000 people. But yeah, there's a cool scene here, and um, it seemed like initially punk was huge here, like the punk scene in it's called the Ozarks of Missouri, and it's just we're right on the edge of that, and there was a big scene around here from Joplin to Springfield, which is about an hour away. You go to the next state over in Oklahoma, and there's Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is a pretty big town, and they had a really big punk scene there. And I mean, it was definitely something that fit us pretty well when we were doing stuff before Gravehuffer. We were doing more like crust punk stuff, and we
Mhm.
toured around and we played all over the U.S. and a little bit into Canada, and so punk was definitely the thing. Um, Metal at the time was more of the like death metal was kind of a thing, and then I think now it's just kind of morphed into whatever people want to do. I feel like there's not so much restrictions, so we've got some like I wouldn't call it power metal, but we've got a band here called Sardis that does like a more of a traditional classic heavy metal sound. We've got
Mhm.
some metalcore bands. We've got a couple death metal bands. we've got like bluegrass, and we've got we've got all kinds of blues is kind of a big thing here. I know you weren't asking about that, but I mean, a lot of that stuff is important to us. We try to support every genre out there, but as far as the metal is concerned, it's a smaller but very tight-knit scene, and we help each other out, and we guest on each other's records and stuff. Like Sardis, the guitar players in that band, played on our song Stalingrad's Cross, which is an EP before this next full length we got coming out. And they're like way better players than I am. So we're like, hey, why don't you play some really cool solos? And so, yeah, our old singer, James, he does some death metal vocals on their record. And so, we're all pretty close knit, and we're proud of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's good to hear that there is a huge support among the bands. Yeah, this is
for sure.
Cool. Yeah, good. The most recent release of Gravehuffer is the single called Causes, which also has a lyric video. So could you speak a little bit about the story behind it?
Yeah, there's actually quite a story behind that. When we were recording for the new Necroeclosion record, Causes was actually going to be called Necroeclosion, because we were like, well, we don't have a title track for the record, which we end up still not having, but we were initially going to write it more about rising from the dead kind of thing, which is what Necroeclosion is. And but that just never really came to fruition for whatever reason. And we were in the studio. It was the last day in the studio, and we were going to record vocals. And Travis, our new singer, myself, and our bass player Mike were there, and we were just kind of like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And our bass player suggested, well, how about we do the dedication we were going to do to a friend of ours that had passed away here a couple years ago. And he was in a band here from Joplin, and he ended up having a heart attack. And so what we did was he wrote poetry, and we used one of his poems as the lyrics, and we got the permission from his family to do that. And they were really, really excited about it and thought it was such a cool thing to use his poem as the lyrics. And so we decided to start putting that together in the studio that day, and it fit the music, and it was just weird how it all fit together. We didn't have to take lyrics out or put lyrics in, or it was really kind of not spooky, but kind of like how it all fit together, like it was meant to be. And so that's dedicated to him, Ryan Smith. And so as far as the music goes, Mike just wrote that sitting in his front room one day. He wrote that whole entire thing. And just the amount of time it took to listen to it, basically, like he said, he wrote it in like 5 or 10 minutes, and he was just really inspired that day. And I thought it was really cool that it's a song that was written on bass, and then we transposed it to guitar, and then the drums were recorded like all in one day. It was very spontaneous. So yeah, that's kind of the story of Causes.
Yeah, cool, really nice.
Thanks.
It was, it's a warm way of, keep his memory, alive.
Right. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks.
And the artwork of this single, Calls, is also pretty cool. Yeah, the people can take a look on this artwork on the link. I'm gonna let the link of Gravehuffer here on the description of this video.
Okay.
And the people can take a look on this artwork. Yeah. So who has designed it, and how was the idea developed?
As far as the artwork, this was another kind of spontaneous thing where I was just, excuse me, I was on Instagram just scrolling, and I happened to come across this guy's art, and he's a Russian artist, and I cannot pronounce his name. I don't want to butcher it, but maybe I can like message it to you so we can get it properly credited. But he goes. Trying to think, he's got a name for his art, like not Soul Grinder, but Soul something or other. I can't remember. Gosh, now I feel bad. But anyway, I was on his Instagram, and I wasn't even looking for art for causes, which is really why this is so cool. I saw that it's kind of like a Medusa kind of art, but it's got all these different, instead of snakes, it's people. And the name of the piece is called Thoughts. And when I saw the description of the art, it totally goes with the lyrics, because that's basically what Causes is all about. It's the thoughts of someone who's going through rough times. And so, he's replaying all these thoughts in his head. And it was just, like I said, another spontaneous thing, how it came together. And so we just contacted the artist and asked him if we could use the art, and we paid him what he asked. And he was actually really excited about it. So yeah, that was pretty much it on that. But it was just kind of like another, it was meant to be kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Intriguing. All this.
Yeah. It is.
Story
like,
about
wow.
the single. Yeah. It's really cool. Really.
Thanks.
Yeah. So you have signed with Black Dumba Records, a label from Georgia. Yeah. And you have already in mind which will be your next releases?
Well, the new album, Necroeclosion, will be the first release on Black Dumba Records. And it actually comes out here in about 3 weeks, I think, January 15th.
Oh.
Yeah. So so when this airs, it'll be like about release time. So
yeah.
So yeah, you can pre-order that through Black Dumba's Bandcamp page, and it's blackdumbarecords.bandcamp.com. And you'll see all the artists that they have. You just click Gravehuffer, and it'll take you right to the Necroeclosion page to pre-order. Excuse me. And so yeah, it's going to be out on 3-color vinyl. It's going to be red, yellow, and black, like a splatter. And so, yeah, we're really excited about it. And and we're going to release it ourselves on CD. And there'll be a bonus track exclusive to the CD. And that's going to be through a label called Reality Impaired. And that song Causes, funnily enough, the other band member for the band that Ryan Smith was in that wrote the lyrics to Causes, the guitar player, his name is Stan, and he's actually the head of the label that's releasing our CD. So we try to keep it in the family, so to speak. Yeah, so it's pretty cool how this all really just has come full circle for everybody. Yeah, so yeah, Necroeclosion is going to be our first Black Dumba release, and we're already working on another one. Because you get an exclusive. Yeah, you get an exclusive. We're already writing for the next release for Black Dumba Records, and it's going to be a split with a band called Murder Van, and they're from Atlanta, Georgia, I believe, and they're like more of a thrash band. I believe their drummer may have been in Nuclear Assault or something. But yeah, they're going to do the split with us, and our side of the split is going to be one song, about a 120-minute song, and it's going to be about Dante's Divine Comedy, the Purgatory, Inferno, and Paradise. And so that's our next project for Black Dumba Records.
Oh, cool. Sounds really interesting.
Yeah. We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah. All right. And could you compare the other 2 previous albums, Your Fault, released in 2017, and Blaspheme Music, released in 2013, by the composition process perspective, maybe?
Yeah. We have been around since 2008, and we used to be called Crom, which is from the Conan the Barbarian movies or comics. I don't know. Not sure if you're familiar with those or not, but yeah, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Crom is Conan's god. And so we went by Crom until 2012, and then we changed the name to Gravehuffer. A friend of ours had a band he was going to start called Gravehuffer, and we were thinking about changing the name, and we're like, dude, that's such an awesome name. And he's like, yeah, isn't it? And so when the time came to change the band name, we're like, hey, you still doing that Gravehuffer thing? He's like, no. And I was like, well, can we have your band name? He's like, Yeah, if I get a free shirt every now and then. So so we give him free merch every once in a while for using his band name. But as far as the Blasphemy music, most of that was actually released in 2009 under the Crom name, and it was called Chaotic Evil, which is in reference to Dungeons and Dragons, the dice game.
Okay.
And so I think it was 2011 we recorded, or maybe 2010. We recorded like 6 songs we were going to release as an EP, and for whatever reason, I know what it was. We had a bad tornado here, and it was like blew away half the town and everything, and we lost our rehearsal space, and so yeah, it was kind of a weird deal. So we went on hiatus for about a year, and when we came back, we recorded these 6 songs, and that's when we changed the band name and all that. So we re-released the Crom stuff as Gravehuffer under Blasphemy Music with the 6 new songs and the 14 other Crom songs. And it was still the same band members and everything.
Okay.
But it's definitely got more of like the punk rock kind of vibe to it. Because there were about 4 or 5 songs they had already written before they asked me to join the band. And so they're a little more simplistic, I guess, more of like the, verse, chorus, and, one and done kind of thing. A lot of shorter songs. And then by the time we got to Your Fault, it was a little more complex. A little more of the metal influences came in there. And so, yeah, that was, to me, that's the biggest difference is one's got more of a raw punk vibe and one's a little bit more refined, I guess. And a little bit more, I mean, the punk stuff's still there. We still got the short songs and the fast songs, but there is a little bit more adventurous stuff on Your Fault than Blasphemy Music.
Okay. So Gravehuffer is 12 years old already, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So looking back to all those years, which were the highest points of the band, and would you change something if you had a chance?
Wow, that's a good question. High points. I think probably one of them was some of the bands we've been fortunate to play with. We got to open for DRI 2011, I believe it was. That was pretty cool because we're huge fans of DRI. They're big influence on us growing up and everything. And it's pretty cool when it's like music you bought on cassette or whatever when you were a kid, and you're going to sharing the stage with them. That's pretty cool. And then we got to play with Vader and Immolation one time, and that was really awesome. And gosh, there's been some other, like that Doom Fest we played. We got to open for a band called Coven. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
Coven,
they were and so they've been around since the late 60s, and then getting to play with and
cool.
so some people say they're the originators of the horns, and so Jinx Dawson, the vocalist. And so that was pretty neat getting to jam with them, and they were super nice, and they offered us weed and everything, and so we're like, it's all good. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's just cool. They always say never meet your heroes, but I've met some pretty famous people, like Judas Priest, for instance. We met them one time, and they were super, super nice. And so I've been fortunate that I've pretty much all the heroes that I've met have been very humble and very nice. And so that's definitely a positive, is like meeting our heroes and hanging out with some of our heroes has been pretty cool. As far as like if I had anything to change, I don't think I would. I wish the tornado never happened. But other than that, I wouldn't change a thing.
Cool. All right. So you have a vast support of the media radios in general. Yeah. So how do you manage all this promotional work?
A lot of it is I'm fortunate that I work at a university and I have a desk job for the most part. And so I'm sitting at a computer a lot, and they allow me to, when I'm not busy, that I can get online and kind of do my thing. so
Oh,
I'm able to get in the chat
ah,
room and stuff, and talk to people and make connections and network and all that stuff. So that's helped a lot. And I think showing your appreciation for people that help you really goes a long way. If you're tagged in a post on social media, then thank them for that, and then share the post and all that stuff. It just takes a few seconds to do these things. And I think if more bands would do that, then there would be more like camaraderie in the
yeah,
scene,
yeah.
and
I agree.
we're
Mm-hmm.
we're all here for the same thing, and it's for music. And I think if everybody just helps each other out, then all the better. So that's really all I'm doing, is just one hand washes the other, and we just try to help the people that help us out. And another thing by doing that is when other bands and other people, fans of music, see our posts, they'll know that, hey, this station plays Gravehuffer. Maybe I ought to listen to this station. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever, or Gravehuffer's interviewing with Lucy from Metal is the Law. Wow, I'm going to have to check that out. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, seriously, that to
Yeah, yeah.
me,
But I agree with you. Yeah.
yeah, I really think that is such a simple but appreciated thing. And I mean, that's really all I can say about it, honestly, is just treat people how you want to be treated. And thankfully, like I said, my job allows me to
Yeah.
be on my computer to have more time to do it.
We're lucky at
So,
this point, at least. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And now, which equipment do you use? Do you prefer? And you are endorse it as well, yeah? So you can speak a
Oh
little bit
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah. Actually, I can take this off the tripod here and show you some of my gear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
So if we can see this, where I can't. One of my solar guitars.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can see that. And then I got
Yeah.
this V. And that's really cool. I've got this custom audio mutation amp. I've got a cabinet there. Not sure how well you're seeing this. I can't really
Yeah,
tell.
yeah.
But anyway,
Logo.
all this great gear that I have behind me,
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's all stuff that we're endorsed by. Solar guitars, custom audio mutation amps, Arachnid Cabinets, Firebird Straps. They're actually just about an hour away. He custom makes straps for me. He makes them out of recycled and repurposed materials, and it's really cool. I just got to deal with this cable company called Hog Cables, and these
Okay.
look like those old
Ah.
payphone cables. It's like really cool, but they're real flexible, and they're
Wow.
called armored cables. And I'm gonna like replace all my cables with these.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Looks
and I
good.
mean, yeah, it's really cool, and they sound really good, and they're real quiet, and so I mean, it all works really good. And for whatever reason, I got the silver thing going, so all my stuff's like reflective or whatever. It looks cool in the lights and all that. So yeah, there's I'm sure there's a few other companies I'm forgetting. InTune guitar picks. They make our picks for us.
Ah.
Trying to think who else. SIT Strings is another company. Seymour Duncan pickups. There's a lot of companies that help us out. And
Wow.
pardon me. So yeah, and then a lot of these companies will dedicate a page for the band. Like if you were to search solar
Mm.
guitars Gravehuffer, we've got a page that has our picture on there, what gear I play, and
Mhm.
links to all of our social medias. And so yeah, it's another thing like we were mentioning about keeping each other one hand washing the other and networking. These are
Yeah.
companies we work with that help us out with gear and give us discounts, and at the same time help promote us. And then in turn, we help promote them, and of course buy their gear. And so yeah, and I get a lot of people messaging me and asking me, well, how do you get all these endorsements? And I was like, well, I just ask them. I mean, it's as simple as
Simple
it's as simple
thing.
as
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just contact the companies, and most of the time on their websites they'll have like a form you can fill out to apply for an endorsement, and that's pretty much. I just decided one day, I'm going to try this and see what happens, and that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much how it's went. So,
Oh, it
yeah,
sounds good.
it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Get this back up here.
Great. So we can also let the credits, okay, all the links of all these companies that you are endorsed by on the description of
Okay,
the video as well. Yeah,
sure.
it's a
Yeah, I
way
can.
of
Okay,
supporting it.
okay,
Very
sounds
good.
good.
And
Yeah.
the next question is, which are your main metal influences as a musician?
Well, I think a lot of it started with my growing up. I was named after Ritchie Blackmore from Rainbow and Deep Purple, and so my parents were really into a lot of that. I guess you'd consider it classic rock, classic metal, and so growing up with my dad just blaring that stuff on his records, was that was definitely kind of got me going, And I was like, "What is that? That's really loud, but I like it," and I was like, "That's," I was like a little kid, and I was like, "Oh, this really,"
Wow, so
for
cool.
whatever reason, it speaks to me.
Yeah.
And I just like the loud guitars and the screaming vocals, and I don't know, I just really it was just my thing. It really was my thing, and I remember digging through my dad's records, and there was this Judas Priest record, and it was Unleashed in the East, the live in Japan record, and I was like, wow, who are these guys? This is really cool. And he's holding this like guitar that looks like a V. I was like, what is that? And they're wearing all this like spikes, and I'd never seen that before. I was like 5 years old. And so
Wow.
I'm like looking at this like, hey, Dag, I want to listen to this, and puts the needle down, and the song Exciter comes on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, all this fast picking and double bass drums, and like, and I'm like, wow. It just blew my mind. And so, I mean, I think Judas Priest was really what set me on my path to like want to play music and play guitar, and I really think I'll put the blame squarely on their shoulders. So, and then it just kind of went from there into like Metallica and thrash, and I heard my older brother had a Metallica Master of Puppets cassette. I remember putting that in and hitting play, and Battery came on, and I was like, holy moly, I was like, this is really cool. And so that went into like death metal, like Morbid Angel, and I remember buying my first Morbid Angel CD, I think, and it was Blessed Are the Sick, and I'd never heard like death metal vocals before or blast beats, and so I was like, whoa, what is that? At first I was like, oh my gosh, it's kind of freaky. And then I was like, I think I like this. I was intrigued enough to want to keep listening. So, and then my friends, like I was telling you earlier, in the 90s, punk was really big around here. And so a lot of the people I hung out with listened to punk. And so I really started getting into punk rock. And I was like, man, I like how raw this sounds. And it's like, I think I could do this too, And that was why the cool thing about punk is that, you could just get together with your friends and let's just play fast and yell and key, you know what I mean? And I just love the aggression and the just rawness of punk. And I think that's kind of what we try to do, is combine all those things. And then even some of us, are into like more psychedelic music and real ambient stuff. And we even try to throw some of that in there, and because it's cool to chill every once in a while too, so
Yeah.
but yeah, I think Judas Priest really got me started for sure.
Okay, and you were really young, 5 years old only. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been 1980, and so yeah, I was yeah yeah,
Wow.
I was a little kid.
Oh, good. And which are your influences out of metal? Do you have any?
um I like a lot of classical music, like Mozart, Bach, and Beethoven. Like anytime I hear their stuff, I'm like, I know who that is. I love the way their note choices, the way they put their notes together to make the progressions, and to me that just blows my mind. I also like progressive rock quite a bit, like Yes and Rush, and King Crimson and Pink Floyd, and I guess they're not super progressive, but I mean, I love that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like our bass player Mike gets me into so much different stuff. He listens to everything under the sun. Like yesterday, we were listening to Philip Glass and Ravi Shankar and just all kinds of stuff like that. Like just
Mm-hmm.
stuff that like, metalheads may not listen to or whatever, but I mean, we listen to everything. We really
Yeah.
do. As long as the music is
Good.
good and yeah, I mean, there's two types of music: good music and not good music, or music you like and music you don't like. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Good.
really matter. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, I can usually find something redeeming in about anything. I mean, I even like, some pop music, well, we were listening to Cheap Trick and Journey the other night, and everybody, I'm sure some of my friends would be like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing listening to that?" But I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I like it." So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a
Okay.
qualms about listening to it.
Other
It
kinds.
doesn't just have to be metal,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Right. And now we go to the classical situational matters law that everybody waits for
Okay.
this moment. So you probably already know. So you were a bad
Mm-hmm.
guy, got in trouble, and had life imprisonment as a sentence. And you can have nothing with you but 3 albums that you can listen for the rest of your life because one of
Mm-hmm.
the guards of the prison is a nice guy and gave you them as a gift. So
Uh-huh.
which albums would you choose and maybe why if there's a reason?
Okay. Uh, well, I think I'm going to have to start with Judas Priest Unleashed in the East because that's just where I got started. And every time I listen to that record, it takes me back to being 5 years old and putting the record on. And like, it was almost like discovering music for the first time. That's how special it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's hard to explain, So I think that something like that would definitely help keep me youthful feeling. If I'm going to spend my life in prison, I could always put that vinyl on and it's like, well, this is my one of three that'll keep me in a youthful frame of mind, but also at the same time keep me going. And they always say, when you get old, to never stop working, so I definitely want to stop, keep continuing to keep active. And I think something like that would keep me in that youthful frame of mind. The second album, let's see. Probably Ravi Shankar Plays the Kremlin. And that's my son actually kind of turned me on to that. And he plays the Kremlin in Russia with a Russian orchestra. And I've never heard anything like it ever in my entire life. I mean, Ravi Shankar to me is almost like a religious experience, or an out of body experience or whatever. I mean, I could just listen to that stuff for hours and hours. And when he played the Kremlin, it was just cool. These two like the India culture and the Russia culture kind of combining, and it works. And it's kind of like one of those things, like people are different culturally, but we're still people and we still have the same feelings. And so if they can combine to make something great, then why can't the rest of the world combine to make something great? So yeah, that would be album number 2. Number 3, oh my gosh, man, this is so tough.
Yeah, I know.
Golly, those first 2 are a little easier. Let me ask my wife. What do you think? 3 albums you would listen to for the rest of your life if you ever had to do life in prison.
I'm just thinking, who'd I kill?
My wife was thinking, who'd she kill to get to have to.
You know me though, I'm more the punk. I'd have to go like some Boris's sprinkler,
Mhm.
like atypical pogo machine or some shit.
Yeah. The Beatles?
Oh,
My oldest son said the Beatles Revolver. I would probably pick the Beatles Abbey Road.
okay.
I think
All
I'd pick,
right.
because Abbey Road, to me, the Beatles had already decided to break up at that point, but when they made Abbey Road, all the expectations of making a Beatles record were kind of done because they didn't have any expectations to live up to. So when they recorded that record, they just recorded the record to make good songs. And to me, those are the best songs they ever wrote. So yeah, let's go with the Beatles Abbey Road.
Okay, great. I believe this is the first time that someone says the Beatles. Yeah,
Oh,
really.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I believe so.
Cool.
Good. And to finish our interview, would you like to leave a message to your fans who are watching or listening to us?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you, Lucy, with Metal is the Law, for having me. I mean, this is an honor for me, to be honest with you. And, you know, like, especially like last week with you interviewing My Dying Bride, they're like one of my favorite bands in the 90s. I'm like, holy crap, she talked to the singer of My Dying Bride.
Yeah.
Really cool, you know, and what an interview
Thank you.
that was. Really
Thank
good. You're welcome. But I would want to thank Metal Devastation Radio for one. Metal Devastation Radio has been probably one of, if not our biggest supporter ever since we started getting airplay on internet radio. So all the listeners, all of the DJs, Zach for putting Metal Devastation Radio together in the first place. To me, that's where it all started as far as us getting this big online presence that we have now. Metal Devastation Radio was a huge, huge start for us in that. So thank you, Metal Devastation Radio. Thanks to all the Gravehuffer fans, of course, that like us enough to, you know, listen, buy music, buy shirts, records, you know, all that stuff. And there's a pretty good amount of you out there. And, you know, there's some people that are like amazed that we get all this interviews and stuff. I'll have friends like, how do you get all these interviews? I'm like, I just ask, you know, or like, you know, we get asked sometimes too. And that's the kind of a thing, like I was talking about with the endorsements. It's like, you just ask. The worst somebody can say is no, you know, and you just gotta not be afraid of hearing no, I guess. Maybe that's the tip of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I want to thank everyone for caring to give Gravehuffer a chance more than anything. All the companies we work with, everybody we network with, there's so many that help us out. It's just impossible to name, but just everyone that cares. How about that?
All right. Okay. Very good. So thanks again, Ritchie. I love it speaking with you, really.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
I had fun.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
So
Me too.
thank you. Great. So thank you all for watching and listening to us, and stay heavy.
Stay heavy.